tales. Something all of us grew up loving. But has it ever occurred to you that they're all connected? Literature grows out of other literature. According to How to Read Literature Like a Professor by Thomas C. Foster, writers can use kitty lit for parallels, analogies, plot structures, and references because most readers will know it. Think about it. If you watched Disney's Enchanted when Giselle fell down the well, what movie did that remind you of? Alice in Wonderland, of course. Authors are simply trying to make use of details or patterns that come from prior stories to add depth and textures to their new stories. They use it to bring out a theme or to lend irony to a statement, not to recreate the fairy tale. To help us better understand this concept, Mel and John went to Disneyland to research how all our favorite Disney fairy tales are really based off the same fairy tale.
And this is my friend John, and throughout today we're going to be traveling throughout Fantasyland to help you better understand how all your favorite Disney fairy tales are all connected. Our first stop is going to be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
The antagonist being jealous of the protagonist is one of the most common plot devices used by authors. For example, in the classic story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the evil queen, being jealous of Snow White's beauty, wants her dead from the start. But in the end, Snow White only ends up in a deep sleep. Why does that sound familiar? Because the same thing happens in Sleeping Beauty. Maleficent is jealous of Princess Aurora and curses her so she'd prick her finger on a spinning wheel and die on her 16th birthday. However, when Aurora does prick her finger, she only falls into a deep sleep, just like Princess Snow White does.
This is an example of how two stories can have similar plots but end up being two completely different stories.
Alright, on to the next example.
The Chronicles of Narnia.
In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, four siblings find a whole other world through a secret wardrobe called Narnia. In the beginning of the movie, Narnia seems to be pure and have everything they ever wanted. However, as the story continues, the siblings begin to uncover all the dark secrets of Narnia. This plotline may sound familiar to many of you because it's very similar to the plotline in Coraline. Now, while Coraline isn't a Disney movie, it's still a very popular movie that will help you understand this topic. Just like in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Coraline finds a door that leads to a world where she meets her other parents. Everything from the food to the people is better in this world. But within time, Coraline finds out her other mother really just wants to feed off her soul.
The plotlines of these two stories are nearly identical. Authors do this on purpose because it is easier for readers to follow along with the story when there are familiar elements.
Our next stop is Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, we haven't been invited. And
if there's two things everyone can remember about Alice in Wonderland, it's Alice falling down the rabbit hole, and Alice eating and drinking things that say eat me and drink me. Willy Wonka's journey down the rabbit hole is Alice's riverbank setting. All the eat me, drink me treats a kid could want is found in the factory. Wonka's world is full of similarly mind-bending dysmorphic substances revealed by Charlie, who, like Alice, escapes his unhappy existence, but remains true to himself on the journey despite the seductive Wonderland.
Alright, so now that we've given you basic examples, we're going to begin analyzing it a little bit more.
To do this, we're going to be looking at two classic stories, Cinderella and Harry Potter.
By now, you should be able to pick out the basic plot similarities between the two stories. Both Harry and Cinderella are mistreated by those around them and end up being rewarded for their kindness and perseverance in the end of the story.
So now let's go deeper. Authors usually have a message they want to get across to the readers. Most of the time, they do this through a theme.
For example, the theme of Cinderella is kindness and perseverance can get you through any situation. This theme is also evident in Harry Potter, so you could say Harry's like Cinderella Man. Authors could give traits to characters in their story that are similar to the traits of characters in other well-known stories. This makes it easier for the authors to communicate different morals and themes through a character. For example, by calling Harry Cinderella Man, we are implying that him and Cinderella have similar personality traits. Therefore, anyone who has previously seen the movie Cinderella or heard the story can already make the connections between Harry and Cinderella and have a sense of familiarity. This allows the author to talk about other morals through a character without confusing the audience. For example, Harry as Cinderella Man portrays the author's message that the damsel in distress doesn't always have to be a woman.
Everything is connected. Now with that being said, this is the end of our day here at Disneyland.
Woo! Now let's really see if you understand this topic.
To do this, I'm going to give you a 5-question quiz. To answer the questions, think about every fairy tale you've seen. Pause the screen if you need more time to answer the question. Using your knowledge from the fairy tales we've mentioned in this video, what does it mean to live happily ever after? Living happily ever after does not mean you fall in love and run off into the sunset. As we've seen fairy tales such as Alice in Wonderland, sometimes living happily ever after means you've become appreciative of the life you have and decide to stand up for what you believe is right. Does a woman's salvation always rely on a man? Definitely not. As we see in Disney's Frozen and Mulan, women are more than capable in taking matters into their own hands. Fairy tales teach young girls they can be independent and just as strong as men. Does good always overcome evil? It all depends on what good overcoming evil means to you. Sometimes the villain gets away with what they did, but the protagonist learns from the situation and continues to move forward with their life. Sometimes good overcoming evil means good gets defeated, but they learn from it and become stronger. Would audiences still perceive fairy tales as fairy tales if they no longer had happy endings? They most likely would not perceive fairy tales the same due to the audiences relying too much on these stories to have positive outcomes. No longer having a happy ending might cause someone to not want to remember or refer to the fairy tale anymore, and it would no longer be a common story everyone is aware of. If you could combine any two Disney movies, which two would you pick? What elements would you choose to combine the two? I would combine Ratatouille and Frozen. Olaf is different from all the other snowmen because he loves the summer. And Ratatouille is different from all the other rats because he loves to cook. I would create a movie where they both support each other in achieving their socially unaccepted dream together. Yay, we made it to the end. I really hope this video helped you better understand how fairy tales, just like Shakespeare, the Bible, mythology, and all other sorts of literature belong to the one big story. Click the links down below for more information. Thanks for watching!